What is happening? Welcome back to the Nerf Herders Assemble podcast. It is the night before the debut of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I should have Googled, is there like a countdown clock to Obi-Wan Kenobi? There's got to be one out there, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Okay. According to yourcountdown.to, there's 4 hours and 27 minutes. I don't know if that's accurate to my timeline, but either way, it's close. It's got to be close.
I was gonna say for me, on the East Coast, it drops at 3 a.m.
Okay.
So,
yeah, this is Pacific time, so that means that it's probably more like 5 hours and here, 27 minutes for me. But I couldn't let tonight pass, considering, especially since we are the N.A.P, the Nerf Herders Assemble podcast. I couldn't let this night go by without us talking about Star Wars just a little bit. And Seth was preoccupied, so I asked my buddy Alan Cram from the You Have to Watch This podcast to join me. How you doing, bud?
hello there. Happy to be here.
I like it. So, yeah, I don't know about you. I'm super excited about this. I am stoked. I cannot wait. I can't believe we're getting 2 episodes tomorrow, but I feel like that's not even going to be enough. What's your anticipation level for Obi-Wan?
There is so much going on this weekend between Kenobi and Stranger Things and Top Gun, but this has been like top of my radar since the moment they announced it. Mm-hmm. We were actually doing a recording of You Have to Watch This podcast when the news broke that Ewan McGregor was coming back. God, what was that? That had to be 2019, I think. And like we did this I recorded us. I read the news article to my co-hosts there, and we were all just so excited to have him come back from the prequels and tell a story in between 3 and 4 with Obi-Wan. So I'm super excited for this. I'm debating staying up until 3, honestly. So
yeah, I'm tempted to like set my alarm clock, wake up, watch, and go back to sleep. That'd be nice. I'm stoked, man. I was not really a fan of the Boba Fett show. I thought that really dropped the ball, but I've loved The Mandalorian, and they've proven that with the right crew and the right amount of patience, they can really churn out an amazing show. And they just dropped a trailer for the next one, Andor, which is like a prequel series to Rogue One, and that looks amazing. So I can't wait for this. I feel like the right people are behind it, and it has the potential to be great.
Yeah, I mean, so Kenobi's being run by Deborah Cho, who is responsible for 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, Chapter 3, The Sin, which is where he rescues Grogu and has that giant fight with all of when the Mandalorians join him, and then the season 1 finale, The Reckoning, which is a big episode. So as soon as I heard she was involved, I was all on board because those are 2 of the best episodes of The Mandalorian, and I was really excited to see what they did with this show. And I did get worried there for a bit when they were supposed to start filming like a few months after they announced it, and then they scrapped every script and went back to the drawing board and rewrote the whole thing and delayed production a year. Yeah. But that gives me more hope for this show than I guess I'm hoping that helps the show more than what happened with Boba Fett.
Right. Well, I still feel like Boba Fett was this last minute show that they came up with to give the Mandalorian actors some time in between seasons. It was never officially made, but there was a lot of rumors that there was just drama on set during season 2 and everybody needed a break. And so the rumor was that Boba Fett was just kind of like, let's throw together a show. Let's give the main Mandalorian cast a break, and then we'll bring them back for season 3. And I could believe that.
I can definitely believe that, having watched the the behind the scenes special that they put on Disney Plus.
Oh,
Because there was a lot of them talking about, well, this season, like it was a continuation of The Mandalorian. And I think the show was spawned out of the Robert Rodriguez episode of The Mandalorian season 2, which was pretty late in the season. So if you're starting pre-production on a show from that point, like that's pretty late in the game to start doing a spinoff. So I think the rumors, like there's some credit to those rumors. I mean, there has been some drama even in like publicly with the cast. Like you're never going to see Cara Dune again,
right.
But yeah, I can buy into those rumors much more now that I watched that special.
Yeah, and then the rumors on Kenobi was that the rewrites were due to the fact that the script was too similar to season 1 of The Mandalorian. Mandalorian, you had him saving Grogu and, protecting the kid throughout their adventures. So I could see how a show about Kenobi looking over young Luke could be drafted the same way. So the idea that they scrapped that for a better story excites me a lot. So I have hopes. I have high hopes.
Yeah, and I'll going into this, I will say I haven't seen any. I've been avoiding a lot of the advertising for this as much as possible.
Yeah,
I've seen the latest, the last main trailer that they released. I haven't watched anything in weeks that's new for this.
Okay, good.
So,
Me too. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go over the prequels. The first time we saw Ewan McGregor playing this character, the first time we saw Hayden Christensen playing Vader. And just, we don't have to do in-depth reviews, but I just kind of want to, what do we feel about this movie, about their performances in particular, and then kind of leading up to Kenobi. So, yeah, let's start with episode 1 here. So, 1 second, let me hide all this. There we go. So, yeah, episode 1. I don't know about you, but I have very fond memories of this. There was a theater in town called the Indian Hills Theater, and it was the old school Cinerama dome type theater. It had just these gorgeous like opera style seating and this gigantic screen, and they tore it down to make a parking lot, and that's what it is now. And it saddens me so much, but I got to see this film. This was one of the last films they showed there, and it blew me away as a kid. I mean, as an adult, I can see the flaws, but there's a lot of great stuff about this film. And Ewan McGregor as a young Kenobi, I really did like him. I thought that he had a little rebellious side to him, a little he wasn't totally smoothed out. He wasn't calm and collective. He was still young, and I like that aspect of him.
Yeah, you can see like the beginnings of the Obi-Wan character that from episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of his first big moments is after they escape the Droidekas and are in the cargo bay of the Trade Federation ship. He just says to Qui-Gon, well, you're right about one thing. The negotiations were short. Mm-hmm. Like you can definitely I could definitely see Alec Guinness's character saying that. Like that's definitely the same character. He's like, of course I know him. He's me. Like it's definitely the Obi-Wan that just still naive, still young, and doesn't have the weight of a war and being a Jedi Knight on him yet. He's still a Padawan. He's still learning.
Yeah, and watching this in retrospect with hindsight, and anytime I watch this now, when we get to the end, I feel so bad for him because he's lost his master, and he doesn't even have real time to grieve and process that. He has to now train Anakin, even though he didn't think it was a good idea to bring Anakin along to begin with. And now he's kind of stuck with him because that's what Qui-Gon wanted. And, there's not real resentment there, but you could tell that it was almost a burden for him to bring it on. It wasn't like, I'm going to do this because it's the right thing and it's the thing I believe in. It was what he was burdened to do, and I do feel for him in that aspect.
Yeah, it's the Duel of the Fates thing. I don't know if you've heard Dave Filoni's whole thing on George Lucas's stance on the Duel of the Fates, but the Duel of the Fates is that song that you hear when Darth Maul is dueling Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. The Duel of the Fates is Anakin going to be trained by Qui-Gon, where he becomes the chosen one and brings balance to the Force peacefully, or is it Obi-Wan, where he goes down this dark path and becomes Darth Vader? Like that's the Duel of the Fates. Like it's going to be one or the other, and like I don't think it's Kenobi's fault that like it's just the way it happens. But that's, and I think his before like that lightsaber duel is like at that point was the best thing in Star Wars that I had ever seen. Like we'll get into another lightsaber duel in a bit, but up to that point, that was the first time you saw like that much jumping and action and a dual bladed lightsaber. Like,
yeah, 2-on-1, two Jedis on one. You would have never thought you'd see anybody withstand that. It was quite the lightsaber scene. I mean, you go back to the original trilogy and Obi-Wan versus Vader is like super lackluster unless you do that one clip that those YouTube guys put together, which is really cool, that fan edit. And then Strikes Back was definitely an upgrade, of Vader versus Anakin, or not Anakin, Vader versus Luke. They upped the game, and then they kind of kept the same level with Return of the Jedi. But yeah, the lightsaber battles in this one were intense and had an intensity to them that we hadn't seen before. And yeah, it really came across well. I remember just thinking that was the coolest thing I'd seen in a long time.
Real quick before we move on from episode 1, there is a book that is canon to the Star Wars universe that came out a few years ago called Master and Apprentice. It's a Qui-Gon Obi-Wan book that takes place before the Phantom Menace, where they're on a mission and like they don't get along. Like Qui-Gon's about to return him to the temple for another Padawan. But it's a really good story about their connection forming as Master and Apprentice, and it ends at Qui-Gon's funeral. Like it does in the film, but you get to hear what Obi-Wan is thinking in that moment and like how he's processing it. And it's a really good moment. Like the last chapter of that book was definitely worth the whole read. And if you haven't even if you haven't read the whole book, I highly recommend that last chapter.
Okay. I'll definitely look that up. I'm always looking for something more to listen to on Audible for sure. Okay. So moving on. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, one of the... and I purposely picked this because this is terrible wallpaper. This just looks bad.
I mean, it fits.
It fits the movie because the movie is just shit. It's just terrible. But it's the first time we see Hayden Christensen in the role. We see, longer-haired Ewan McGregor as slightly older Kenobi. And we get the sense that, hey, they've been with each other for how many years? Is it 10 years or less?
10 years.
Okay.
10 years.
And Kenobi's putting up with Anakin's angst, just like Qui-Gon had to put up with his. And it's very much full circle for him. It's like, this is what you get for being troublesome to Qui-Gon.
Yeah, but there's such a difference between, like, going back to the Duel of Fates thing, there's such a difference between the way Qui-Gon handles Obi-Wan and the way Obi-Wan handles Anakin. And Qui-Gon was a lot more take it with a grain of salt. Obi-Wan is very strict and very I don't want to say forceful, but very stern with Anakin and very snippy. And it's you can see the difference in their teaching style.
Yeah, well, I think that's partly due to the fact that Obi-Wan got thrown into way too early. I don't think he was ready to be a master. I don't think he was ready to look after somebody. He was still a Padawan. I mean, I don't know if he was a Padawan in episode 1, like if they actually ever referred to him as a Padawan, but he was still like, he was still young, and I don't think he was ready to take somebody on that immediately. And so I could understand him overcorrecting and being super strict because he doesn't know any better.
Yeah, at the beginning of episode 1, he's a Padawan. By the end of it, Yoda knights him as a Jedi Knight, and he's able to take on his own Padawan.
Okay. But he gets that knighthood only because he killed the killer of his master, and you know, maybe it wasn't the right time for him to take on somebody, but he has. And now that somebody has grown up and is, you know, defying him at every turn. Once again, I feel for him. I don't know why he's holding his lightsaber like a flute in this picture, but I felt for him in this movie for sure.
Yeah, the thing that confuses me most about Obi-Wan in this movie is his hair. I can't get past the mullet.
Yeah.
But
it's that young 20s Jesus look, like it's
weird. Like when people say that they switch out pictures of Jesus for Obi-Wan Kenobi at their grandmother's house, I can believe it because of this movie.
Yeah.
I think you've got some great Obi-Wan moments in this. I think the duel with Jango Fett on Kamino is great. I think the sass that he gives Anakin in the arena when they come out and are chained up, he's like, "What are you doing here? We're here to rescue you." And he just looks up, he's like, "Good job." Like that's one of the best Obi-Wan Kenobi lines ever. And then that's all. I don't know what else to say.
I mean, and in terms of Christian Hayden, why am I blanking on his name?
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen. He, you know, I mean, I do like him in this role. I think a lot of his lines just weren't that great. I think he was set up to fail in many of his scenes. But I do like him for the role, and I think a lot of people are ready for that redemption. I don't know what kind of form he's coming back. I've got to believe it's more than just him wearing the suit, because they wouldn't bring this much fanfare for his return if all he was the body behind the suit. I mean,
we're going to get into theories later, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll save my thoughts on that for that segment. I'm still bitter that I didn't get Hayden Christensen's autograph at New York Comic Con.
Oh, I know you are. I know you are.
No,
waited so long for that.
I don't think the problem with this movie is his acting. I think the problem with this movie is George Lucas doesn't know how to write dialogue. George Lucas is fantastic at world building. Like if you just looking at this picture, like everything here, George Lucas thought of, like from the world that we're in this film wouldn't exist without George Lucas. And I think there's a lot that came from this movie, especially when you get into the Clone Wars show and the expanded universe with the games that came out around this time. A lot came from this movie, but the dialogue and the acting, like the dialogue mostly is the biggest problem. Like the I hate sand, it's rough and coarse, and like that line gets a lot of hate on the internet. But the thing about that scene is he's talking about, like, Padme's talking about going to the beach with her family and enjoying the sand and the water, and like being able to take a vacation like that. Anakin's talking about he hates the sand because he was a slave. He couldn't escape it. It did get everywhere, and it was nothing in his life was joyful. He wasn't able to take a vacation. Because as we learned in Boba Fett, the seas on Tatooine dried up. So, but that's what that scene, like, there's better ways to show that than the way, like, I hate sand. Like, the meaning's there. Like, the context is there. It's just not delivered with the script that they're given.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do love him in the role though, and I think he gets better over time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a reason why Lucas had scripting help with the original series, and I wish he would have pulled more of that scripting help over for these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the dialogue is probably some of the worst stuff about. Well, I mean, there's so many things wrong with the sequels, or with the prequels, but dialogue really kind of puts the nail in those coffins.
Yeah.
Um, Before we get to episode 3, we have the Clone Wars, which, uh, well, I mean, looking back, when we get to episode 3, it just feels like there's so much that happens between episode 2 and episode 3 in terms of their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I love about the Clone Wars so much, because we get, what is it, like 7 seasons worth of relationship building between them two. And
Yeah.
even though it was after the fact, it really, Dave Filoni knows how to fill in the gaps and make things work. And that is the true significance of the Clone Wars, and that it makes parts of the prequels better because
Mm-hmm.
of him fleshing things out. And one of the things he really did flesh out is their relationship, the war in general, and Anakin's temptation. I think it's a lot more clear when you watch that show before going into episode 3 than just the rushness of episode 2 to episode 3. It feels like
Mm-hmm.
there's this helps out a lot. I love Clone Wars. I didn't watch it for years, and then when season 7 was announced for Disney Plus, I was like, all right, there's got to be a reason there's so much fanfare behind this. And now I'm so glad I watched it, because it's an amazing show.
It's much better watching it binging, like watching it week to week. Back when it premiered, I had trouble keeping up with it
Oh, I bet.
because the episodes jump timeline,
Yeah.
especially in that first season. So I had trouble getting into it at first.
First couple
Um,
seasons, really. It took like 3 seasons to really start getting into uh, you know, uh, storylines that stuck throughout episodes.
yeah,
They were all over the place at first. Yeah.
yeah, which was always, it's still a weird choice to me, but
Hmm.
I think you're right. Dave Filoni really, him and George Lucas like worked together on this show and really were able to build on the world that is set up in the prequels, expand it with not only these characters but the clones themselves. You get to meet Cody and Rex, and
Hmm.
you get to see. I think what's really interesting about the show is Anakin taking on Padawan and having that like triad of Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka,
Hmm.
because Obi-Wan just kind of laughing like, yeah, how do you like it? Like
Right.
this is what I've had to deal with for the last 10 years.
Ahsoka's sass is perfect, because it is definitely it rings so true with Anakin's sass in episode 2. So yeah,
Hmm.
you can laugh with Kenobi when you realize, oh yeah, now you have to deal with it. So yeah.
Do you, so because there's so much to talk about with the Clone Wars and these two. Is there a particular moment for you with these two that sticks out in your mind when you think of the Clone Wars?
I mean, there's so much. There's so much. But that uh the one episode where they go to that planet, and there's like the physical representations of the dark side and the light side
Mm-hmm.
and those kids, and you really do start to, I mean, that wasn't the beginning, but you really do see Anakin's temptation come out in that episode. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was definitely more fantasy based than a lot of the Star Wars content, but I really
Yeah.
did like seeing those visual interpretations of the Force, and I really did like that. My favorite episode of the show doesn't even involve them. It involves, it's the episode where that one Jedi wants he just wants to kill, he just wants the regiment to like move forward, doesn't matter how many of
Mm-hmm.
them die, and they're like,
Yeah.
we are people too, and they eventually rebel against him. And it wasn't that he was seduced by the dark side, it was just like his arrogance, and that kind of showed that even the Jedi can be arrogant and fall to their own ways. And It really didn't have anything to do with these two, but it kind of set the stage for, people can fall even if they're Jedi.
Yeah.
What about
My
you?
my favorite episode is the Jar Jar Mace Windu episode.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
for me, the moment between these two that sticks out in my mind is in one of the last arcs in the Bad Batch arc. There's a moment where Anakin gets off a call with Padme,
Hmm.
and that he's hiding, like Rex is helping him hide from Obi-Wan, and he almost gets caught. And as he's walking away, Obi-Wan says, "Well, I at least hope you told Padme I said hi." So like it reveals that this whole time Obi-Wan's kind of known what's really going on with him and Padme, but has kept it to himself. And I think it speaks levels to where their relationship is at this point in the Clone Wars. Like the war's about to end, Episode 3 is about to happen. There is a brotherly trust there, and I think that speaks volumes to where they are going into Episode 3.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if he knew about the pregnancy, but he definitely knew
No.
about the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that did, because like I said, there's so much difference between their relationship here, the tone of their relationship, as the annoying, angsty Padawan and the frustrated master, to the brothers of Episode 3. And they really do have this brotherly thing. And when you watch the Clone Wars, then by the time it gets to this, in Episode 3, you feel the pain in Obi-Wan's state, because he doesn't want to do this. Like, he realizes, even at this point, he knows that Anakin has done terrible things, but he's still there trying to convince him, trying to pull him back to the last moment. And I that just holds so much weight. But if we're just talking about this film, yeah, even without the Clone Wars, I really did like both their performances. I think it was a big step up from Episode 2.
Yeah, definitely a big step up. It's a lot more fun at the beginning with the two of them, and like it just goes downhill from there. Like the opening scenes with them in the elevator and fighting Dooku, and like, well, at least we're still flying half a ship. Like all the banter back and forth between them, you can really tell where they got the inspiration for that for the Clone Wars series. And then like you can like the what sticks with me is that last moment where Obi-Wan's about to go off to find Grievous, and they have that moment on the platform where it's the last time that they're gonna be friends.
Yeah,
and like it's such a nice moment. Like, I am proud of you. Thank you for all your training. Like, it's like they don't know it's goodbye, and it's hard to watch knowing that that's their goodbye. Especially when you watch 7 seasons of a show and then all of the movies and.
It's a tender moment for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm just now realizing this, but Obi-Wan basically has a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible thing going on, in that he's short hair in one film, long hair in the next film, short hair in this one, and then long haired in Obi-Wan. And that's definitely Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible.
I wouldn't say that his hair is long or short here. I think it's just slicked back.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not as long. Well,
No, he's definitely lost the mullet.
Yeah. He's happy medium. He's not going all the way back to little buzz cut.
No.
Obi-Wan.
My favorite moment in here, and it's a joke that my wife and I do all the time. There's a rumor that like the scene where Obi-Wan is talking to Padme about what he saw at the temple. He's like, I saw holograms of Anakin killing younglings, and he like covers his mouth. There's rumors that that's him covering his mouth to stop from laughing. Because it's just such a ridiculous line, and it is, but that duel on Mustafar though is still some of the best lightsaber battles we've seen.
It was pretty cool. There was some theatrics in it for certain. The whole thing where they're just doing the thing and they're not even hitting each other. It's like, all right, is this a ballet or is this a lightsaber battle? But it's still pretty cool.
That's George Lucas looking at LucasArts at the time, like, hey guys, you want to make some video games? Here's like 5 levels for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that was in the Episode 3 video game. It was in Battlefront 2. It's in all of the Lego games now. So that's just him looking at video games in the future. Smart man.
Yeah.
Not a great screenwriter, but smart man.
Yeah. But the high ground and the, I love you. You were my brother. That was just, it's so emotional, that scene. I love that scene because you can see the emotion on his face. Like, that whole, anytime they talk in the middle of that fight, in my point of view, the Jedi are evil, and he's like, well, then you are lost. It's just great. Their dynamic is just great during that whole scene.
Did you know there was more to the I loved you, Anakin back and forth than is in the film?
No. Mm-mm. Is there like a deleted scene out there or something?
There's a deleted line, and you can kind of see Hayden Christensen deliver it, but you can't hear it because his lips are moving, but there's no words. And it's in some of the novelizations. I have one of them. I don't know where it is. Oh, it's right here. Let me read it to you.
Okay.
This is the movie storybook.
Okay. I was gonna say I've got the prequel trilogy up there in hardcover.
The terrible duel finally brought them to the bank of the lava river, where Obi-Wan gained the upper hand. With swift blows, he crippled Anakin, who tumbled down the embankment and rolled to a stop at the river's edge. Anakin struggled to pull himself up, but his injuries were too great. "Help me, Master," he pleaded. He desperately pleaded. "Don't ask me, Anakin," said Obi-Wan, his heart full of pain. "You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. I love you, but I won't help you. I hate you," Anakin shouted. So pretty much him declaring his love for Anakin after Anakin asks for help and he says no.
Well, that's definitely a different dynamic than the film, because the film, he says, "I hate you" first, and then Kenobi says, "I loved you." So that's interesting. I wonder how that would have gone over if he begged for help and then Kenobi didn't help him.
Yeah.
Because throughout that whole fight, he was still trying to help him, so interesting.
Another interesting thing, if you look closely at the concept art that's here, Anakin has a red lightsaber, which he still has his blue one in this. So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that was definitely worth the $2 buy at Second and Charles. So
well, so now we, granted there is some Obi-Wan stuff in Rebels, but that canonically is after Obi-Wan, I believe. So we're not going to talk about Rebels. But I did want to bring this up. So CBR.com came out with this thing a couple days ago, 10 Obi-Wan Kenobi theories we hope come true. So I thought it'd be fun just to kind of quickly go through those, give our thoughts, whether or not it's likely that that'll happen. So, number 1, Obi-Wan removes himself from the Force.
Real quick, 9 minutes ago, I think Kenobi's available now.
What?
Disney Plus posted that at 9 p.m. Pacific time. So it'll be available at midnight. I'm sorry. It'll be available at midnight my time. So I've got 45 minutes until Kenobi.
Okay. We'll speed this up. Because
no, that's all right.
Too. I'm just checking.
Right.
I'm checking Disney Plus real quick. It's probably not going to let me do it because I've got screen share on, so I'm not going to do it. Okay, good to know. So number 10, Obi-Wan removes himself from the Force. So there's the theory that, the only reason that Obi-Wan was able to hide all this time from the Inquisitors, from Vader, especially on Vader's home planet, which I always did think was dumb. But the fact that he was able to hide all this time was because he removed himself from the Force, so you couldn't stretch out and find him like we've seen Yoda stretch out and find people through the Force over great distances and stuff like that. What do you think the likelihood of that is?
Um, I think if they wanted to tie it into the sequels a little bit, that would make sense. I've always bought into the idea that the reason Vader never went to Tatooine to look for him is because he hates Tatooine.
Sure.
And the
But it is the only place he has family.
but he doesn't really consider that family. Like,
sure.
If you look at the Star Wars 2015 comic book run by Marvel, they explore Vader going back to the Lars homestead. Because Vader at this point doesn't know Anakin or doesn't know Luke exists. Right. He has no reason to go back there, to his family. So
I guess you have that, And why would he think that Kenobi would go to Anakin's home planet? So yeah, you have that.
Yeah, that's my thought. But if they wanted to tie it into the sequels, I can see that happening.
Okay.
If they want to make him Hermit Obi-Wan Kenobi like Hermit Luke. But
then at the same time, we got that tease that Yoda was going to teach him to reach out to Qui-Gon. Mm-hmm. That would be hard for him to do if he was disconnected from the Force.
That's the other thing. Like, I definitely, you can't do that if you're disconnected from the Force. So,
right. Number 9, Obi-Wan defeats Vader again. Well, I mean, we've heard there's some type of standoff between Obi-Wan and Vader, and obviously Obi-Wan doesn't die because he's in A New Hope. But I don't think that necessarily means he defeats Vader. He could get away with the skin of his teeth in a fight and then run off.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Obi-Wan dies in the show.
Okay.
No, like if you listen to the dialogue that they have in that exchange in A New Hope, when I last saw you, I was the learner. Now I am the master. Mm-hmm. I think he does get the upper hand, and he definitely escapes. But yeah, I think it's going to be a close battle.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that this doesn't make sense with the lines in A New Hope, and I'm sure that with someone like Dave Filoni behind all the Star Wars things, they can make it a way to make it work. They can, there's not a ton of lines. Like, the last time I saw you, I was a teenager and still a Jedi. It's not like he says that. Yeah. So they can still do things that isn't out of the way. Isaac K says hello. Hello, Isaac.
Hey, Isaac.
But I could see Obi-Wan losing and then realizing that, he needs to get back. Here we go. Qui-Gon Jinn returns as a Force ghost. I don't think that's possible if he's disconnected from the Force.
If he's disconnected from the Force, it's not going to happen. I think we'll hear his voice. I don't think we'll see his face.
Why would he go through the trouble of doing the voice and not just come back for the face when you can do so much with? If Zack Snyder can film the whole Flash scene in his driveway, why can't they just green screen him from a webcam and do a little scene with him?
This is what my Star Wars nerd is showing. Canonically, Qui-Gon is unable to form a ghost. As far as I believe, Qui-Gon cannot form a Force ghost. He can only have his presence felt through his voice. He's not able to manifest himself into the ghost form that Obi-Wan and Yoda do later on. He didn't have as much training, and he's helping them get to that point. That's what their training is.
Interesting.
Because they talk about it in the novel book, the novel From a Certain Point of View, which tells different short stories that take place throughout A New Hope. Mm-hmm. There's a story where when Luke goes back to the homestead to find Uncle Owen and Aunt Lars barbecued, Obi-Wan is talking to the voice of Qui-Gon about what's going on and what's about to happen. But it's just his voice. They talk about how he never was able to manifest.
Okay, so I didn't know that. So it's not just about the person that's alive training to connect with the person that's dead. It's also the person that's dead that had to have done some training to be able to manifest. Interesting.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
not know that.
That's part of what Qui-Gon was doing in the Duel of the Fates when he was in those force fields. Like he was meditating.
Derpy Gaming. Yes, we just
Yeah.
found that out. We cannot freaking wait.
Yeah.
That's 2 hours for me. It's 1 hour and 51 minutes. So I'm staying
Well,
up
no,
now.
no, I mean, no, it should be the same time for you.
Oh, it's not. It's not.
It's
Oh,
not 9 p.m. Pacific.
oh, okay. So it is.
So,
Okay. Okay. Cool.
so that'll be 11 o'clock for you, I believe.
Hell yes. If it's not time zone gated. So, okay. We got to keep going. So, number 7, other Jedi outside of Obi-Wan appear. Well, that's fairly easy. I know they're referring to Ahsoka in this 48 minutes. Keep us on our toes, Derpy. I would bet that oh gosh, why am I suddenly blanking on his name? He's from Eternals. He's from
Kamal Nagiani.
yes, he's in this, and it definitely feels like he's being hunted. So I can imagine him being a Padawan or somebody Jedi that's on the run. So I would bet that at least he fulfills this. But do you think there's a chance that somebody like Ahsoka or even Cal Kestis from Fallen Order could show up in this?
I think Cal's going to show up in Andor. Just watching that trailer. It feels like something he'll show up in. Ahsoka, if she shows up in this, it'll be during flashbacks to the Clone Wars. That's my take on it. I think Kumail's bulked up enough that he's probably going to be playing a Jedi.
Yeah.
Which if you would have told me 10 years ago that Kumail was going to be in a Marvel movie and a Star Wars thing, I'd be surprised. No, I
he's
think
getting it out because I thought that he was wasted in Eternals. So at least he's got another property right off the back of that he can keep booked up for.
Yeah, Disney's good at that. They had him go from Eternals to this. They had Ewan McGregor go from Christopher Robin to this.
Oh yeah,
so.
they keep their people around for future things. I'm seeing Top Gun tomorrow. Don't spoil it, Derpy, but I hope you liked it.
You know, I'm not really working tomorrow, so maybe I'll go see that tomorrow.
Okay, Maddie and I watched Top Gun 86 tonight, so
nice.
I'm stoked. She had never seen that movie, and she was like, "Do they know how homoerotic this movie is?" I'm like, "I don't know if they knew, but everybody else does."
Yeah, we just did that one on You Have to Watch This Podcast.
Oh, that's right, we did.
I hadn't seen it the whole way through, and my co-host Devin had never seen it, so you can go check that out on our YouTube channel.
Derpy says it's how a sequel is supposed to be made. Very nostalgic, very old school. 9 out of 10. Enough said. Okay, enough said on that. Let's get back to Star Wars.
Yes.
I hope we see Ahsoka. I know this is only a 6-episode show, and just like I said with Moon Knight, I really don't need a lot of cameos. But even if it's just one scene that puts a real life Ahsoka next to a real life Obi-Wan, that just solidifies her character that much more, and that would just fill my heart with joy. Even if it's a throwaway scene, God, that would feel good.
So from a production standpoint, I have a take on this. Mm-hmm. The Variety article came out with all the photos of everyone together, and you had Ahsoka and Obi-Wan there. I don't think you put Rosario Dawson in all of that makeup unless you're filming a thing with her and Obi-Wan at the same time. Like, I feel like they did something on the volume where they shoot The Mandalorian with the two of them, and that's why they were there that day.
Let me see if I can bring that up. I had a good copy of that. That was a gorgeous picture of them all next to each other. Here we go. Yeah, right here. This is look at that. That is gorgeous. Now, she's not right next to.
Well, the cover shot. This is definitely
Photoshop.
But if you look here, they're on the volume. This is where they shoot The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at least the background. But there's a cover image where they're all standing next to each other.
That's
and
true.
There's video of them together. So
yeah, that's great. I mean, I just love that they could have edited out the volume, but they made it part of this picture because that's so much part of it now. You know, like it's it's more than just the actors, it's the technology, and they will never shy away from boasting that technology because it's just so great. Andor, they're using the volume for Andor, and that looked amazing.
Yeah,
So,
I like the fact that seeing George Lucas's reaction to the volume is he's like, "This is what I wanted for the prequels, but I didn't have it. Now you have the tools that I wanted."
yeah. He didn't wait around for decades like James Cameron did with Avatar. He just went with it, but now we can go past that. So
now, real quick, you talk about Ahsoka being validated by being on live action with Obi-Wan. I know you weren't a big fan of Boba Fett, but the best thing to come out of the behind the scenes featurette was they surprised Rosario Dawson with Luke Skywalker and Mark Hamill on set, because she thought up to that point it was going to be Plo Koon.
Yeah.
So she walks in on set and just sees Baby Yoda meditating with Mark Hamill and like gets giddy about it, and it's fantastic.
It was pretty damn cool. Seeing them talk, I mean, that was definitely legit. Seeing her talking to Luke, but she had a relationship with Kenobi, and I doubt we'll see anything with her and Vader, but it would be cool. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm glad we have her nonetheless. But number 6, Commander Cody is still at the Emperor's disposal. Commander Cody's fate is unknown at the end of the film, which has fans thinking he may be continuing his work alongside the Empire. Maybe. I mean, we definitely have Tamora Morrison. He's been around. They've been filming Boba Fett. Even if now I could see them using his voice. I think. But even if they did, even if there was just one shot of a stormtrooper taking off, they could have easily just said, "Hey, when you're done with Boba Fett, come over here for 30 minutes. We'll film something. We'll throw it in." I could see that happening.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up. I think we're gonna. I really think we're gonna see some flashbacks to the Clone Wars. So we'll probably hear his voice at least. But Commander Cody, they haven't really touched any of his storyline in the Bad Batch or Rebels.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up in this.
And again, if we do these flashbacks, it's perfect time to bring in a de-aged Ahsoka. I would love that. I would love that. They're gonna have to shorten her up because she looks so tall in the current.
Well, so the question is, like, if you have Ahsoka in this, is it Rosario Dawson? It might not be her. It might be a younger actress who's shorter. It might.
Yeah, and I wonder how they would do that because I mean, teenage young Ahsoka in the Clone Wars is definitely a different look. But yeah, we'll see. Yoda is communicating with Obi-Wan. I have heard people say die hard that this is going to happen, and it would be a mistake if it doesn't. I could easily see this not happening. Yoda exiles himself. There was a deleted scene from episode 3 where he shows up on Dagobah, and that's just, I mean, that's where he goes. That's where he stays. I know he can. I think we've seen things where he's able to communicate through the Force through long distances, but for fear of being sought out, and when they've basically told anybody that's left to run and hide, I can't see him risking that. And I really feel like he felt ashamed at the end of episode 3 and exiled himself. I wouldn't be surprised if we do not see him at all in this.
Yeah, I think Yoda's off getting crazy on whatever shrooms they have on Dagobah, and I don't think we'll see him.
Yeah, I don't think we will either. Darth Maul crosses paths with Obi-Wan once again. Nope,
not gonna happen. Well, I mean, it was supposed to happen. That was supposed to be what the show was before the rewrites. Was gonna be Darth Maul showing up. I think we'll see Darth Maul in live action again. It's not going to be on this show.
I really hope we do. I'm sad that the first attempt at that was in Solo because that's not going anywhere. But I really hope we do because he's got a really cool story. But the fact that, I mean, this picture alone, this is from Wait,
Clone
no.
Wars.
This is from Clone Wars. This isn't. But they do meet up in Rebels, and that is the end of their arc, and that is the first time in a long time that they meet. So that makes less sense that they would meet again in this show with that in the future than the whole Obi-Wan and Vader. To me, it makes less sense. So I could see a lesser show doing that, but there's so much. There's Inquisitors, there's Vader. This is the 6-episode limited series. As far as we know, there will not be a season 2, so I can't imagine them shoehorning him in.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I think they flat out came out and said that he's not in it. Because trust me, if Ray Park was in this, he would let you know.
Right. I think he's definitely. And now, granted, the counter argument to that would be, well, Disney's behind this, and how many times did Tobey Maguire and what's his face say they weren't in Spider-Man? But I still don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either.
I'm already teasing part 3. Obi-Wan the Watchful Protector. How is this a theory? Shots from the trailer. Obi-Wan even meets with Owen Lars. Fans will be able to relate to Obi-Wan keeping an eye. Well, that's in the trailer. How is that a theory? I don't get that. Yeah, he will be a watchful protector. That's like his whole point.
Yeah.
I don't know what
the Dark Knight.
Yeah. Baris Offee as an Inquisitor. So Inquisitors will be appearing. Some fans have theorized that Baris will be included in the group. She appeared primarily in the Clone Wars and was a Jedi that was... Oh, yes, her. Oh, right. I forgot about her. Yeah, she had some episodes where it was her and Ahsoka, and then she turned. I doubt it. What do you think? What's the chances of this?
50-50. I mean, I could see them exploring that more in something like
Ahsoka
or Fallen Order 2.
I mean, clearly that's not the primary. The primary Inquisitor that we're dealing with is her, and I forgot what her name is, but she's going to have backstory and everything. I don't think we'll have room for her and this other one.
Hey, I'm just excited for live action helicopter lightsabers.
I know. That is so damn cool. This is great. Well, and the Inquisitors in general, again, these are things that Dave Filoni brought to flesh out this time period, and it's just great seeing it cross over.
While we're talking about the Inquisitors, what is your take on the design of the Grand Inquisitor? Because I know it got some throwback when it first premiered with that trailer.
Yeah, I'm trying not to be irritated by it. And that paired with the actor's comments that he has seen nothing. He has researched nothing about this character. He's taking the opposite approach. Every time you see a new actor coming on to do a comic book movie or whatever, there's always the candid picture of them reading a comic that everybody's like, oh, he's reading The Dark Knight Strikes again or something like that, and that's going to be part of it. But he's come out and said, I've read nothing about this character because I didn't want it to influence the thing. And so on that note, I'm just like, well, then you better nail it. And as far as his looks, it does conflict with the looks of the same species from the prequel films.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll get over it. It's not as much. I'm not that bent out of shape on it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm at the same point. Like it does look different than the movies, but it's a different character. It's not the same guy that we saw in Episode 3. Mm-hmm. I'm disappointed that it's just not Jason Isaacs, because I think he could totally nail the part in live action.
He could nail any part. He's great. I love Jason Isaacs.
But beyond that, I'll have to wait and see what the show does with him. But I'm excited to see the Grand Inquisitor come back. So
yeah, me too. Daniel, yes, apparently it was officially announced that it releases at 9
p.m. Pacific time. So
Pacific time, yeah.
34 minutes from wherever you are.
Yeah, so that's exciting, super exciting. I wonder if that's just to get a little leg up on everything else that happens this weekend.
Well,
weren't they going to release it on Wednesday and then they pushed it back to Friday?
I think they pushed it back to Friday because of Celebration.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
But then
I
they
also
go
I
ahead.
also think they pushed it up tonight because it was premiered at Celebration tonight. So I don't think they want spoilers getting out there.
Oh, that makes sense. Do you think both episodes are coming out tonight or just the first?
Yeah, both. It says both. Start
Okay.
streaming the first 2 episodes tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific.
All right, I can't wait. Last one. Connection to is this even they just got lazy with these last ones. Of course it's going to connect to other Disney Plus shows. This is Disney and
Mm-hmm.
it's of course it is. Like I hope it's not major, but I there's got to be something. There's like I again I hope it's not major. I hope it's more Kenobi based, but yeah, I can't
I'll be.
imagine nothing coming out of this that doesn't connect to something else.
How horrible would it be if we get all excited for this Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and like after at the end of the second episode, it's just him escorting Grogu to wherever he needs to go before the Mandalorian? Like,
Don't mess with me like that.
I don't think
Yeah.
that's gonna happen. There
But I
might be
do have Hawkeye fears because we got a show called Hawkeye, and the first couple episodes it was like, is this a show called Hawkeye? Because it's not about Hawkeye yet. So I certainly hope that's not the case with Obi-Wan.
No, I think there will be Grogu Easter eggs. I don't think we'll actually see him.
Oh, you think there'll be a Grogu Easter eggs? I thought it would
Maybe.
be less noticeable. Like I can't imagine.
I mean, I
some
think
of these villains might be crossover to other shows, but
I mean, Marf Polos Humanos will probably show up. Like, I wouldn't be surprised by that.
That could be cool. Yeah.
But I mean, I really don't want Grogu to show up in this. I don't want like let's say 4 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, an episode of Mandalorian season 3, and then back to Kenobi, because that feels like that's what they did with Boba Fett, and I don't want that again.
Yeah. I don't think we have time for that.
No, if anything, I could see the connection being Ahsoka.
Hello there. Actually, I think
General
it's more than
Kenobi.
likely. I think it's more than likely that there'll be a connection to Andor, because that is the next show, and I don't know how far back Andor is from A New Hope, but it's got to be somewhere in the middle between the end of this show and Rogue One. So I could see a cameo from one character, even if it's not that main dude. I could see something that then, hey, come back in August because we got Andor next.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
That would make most sense logically for the time.
But I still think Ahsoka shows up in a flashback.
Okay.
So along with I think we're going to see Anakin in a flashback too. Like you talked at the beginning about Hayden Christensen coming back on board, not just to be in the suit. I think that's the case. I think he's just going to be. I think he's going to be General Skywalker in the Clone Wars, and we're going to see them at a battle at a scene that we didn't see on the show.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that would be great. I can't imagine Obi-Wan being out there and not thinking about Anakin, not remembering things and being tormented by that. And I hope that's the case. I hope that's the case, because otherwise they really would have no reason to bring Hayden back. If it was just Vader, it's not like Hayden voices Vader. It's not like Hayden needs to be in the suit. So there's got to be something more.
I'm kind of curious because you brought up who voices Vader. They haven't credited James Earl Jones yet.
But do they need to? Isn't that just a voice modulation at this point?
I mean, I am curious to see what they do with it, because he sounded off in Rogue One, and now they have the technology to recreate Mark Hamill's voice from scratch. So I'm curious to see what they do with Vader in this, voice-wise.
Yeah, was he credited in Rogue One? Or
Yeah.
was he was?
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. Unless they do something like, well, no, because he had that voice at the end of episode 3. I was gonna say, unless they're like, he doesn't have the voice modulation yet. Yeah, God, let's not have another one of those. But yeah, either way, I can't wait. It's coming out in 29 minutes. Um, I I've said it before, and Seth, who's usually on the show, has said it before. This has the potential to be the best Disney Plus Star Wars show or the worst. Like this has the potential to really like you can screw up Boba Fett and it's just a thing. You know, it doesn't really mess with the films. But if you fuck this up, then it's gonna leave a stain on Obi-Wan as a character and the films and Ewan McGregor's character if you mess with this. So let's just hope they don't.
Yeah, and I think there's so much. Not that there wasn't passion behind Boba Fett. I think Tamora Morrison and Robert Rodriguez all went into it with the best of intentions. I think the show stumbled because of production issues that were unavoidable.
Well, they also tried to reinvent a character, and I can't imagine them trying to reinvent Obi-Wan in this film.
Yeah, I don't see them try. I don't see them trying to make Obi-Wan like the Godfather in this. But it'd be a choice. It'd be the wrong one. It'd also be wrong if they made him go back to the Overlook Hotel. But yeah, I don't think. I think there's. I don't. Considering there were rewrites before the show even started, they're able to look at those scripts and like, this isn't right. We need to go back to the drawing board. I think that gives me a lot of faith in where the show goes. And I think I have high hopes for it. So.
Yeah, me as well. I am just so happy. I'm trying to bring this up before we go here. Come on, give me a full-size picture of this. This right here. For years, we have only had this image to go off of, which is of a completely different movie. This is not Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is Ewan McGregor's Last Days in the Desert, which is a Jesus movie.
Yeah, he's playing Jesus here.
So you could take a picture of this and put it up on your grandma's wall, and technically, you know, that was the purpose of it. But no longer do fan posters and fan art and everything have to take this and be like, yes, this is the Obi-Wan movie we've always wanted. We are actually getting it, and I'm so stoked. So we're getting it in 26
less than a half
minutes.
Hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you. So do you have any final thoughts on this that you want to throw out there?
It's nice talking Star Wars with you. Usually we're talking Marvel over on Victims and Villains. So
I know, and I'm so stoked. Like you said, this is going to be a packed weekend with Stranger Things, which I'm also very excited for. Top Gun Maverick, which I'm also very excited for.
Yeah.
But I am glad that we're not getting this whole thing this weekend, because I feel like if we did and I was binging this plus all that other stuff, it wouldn't feel as fulfilling to me. So maybe that's a good thing that we're being forced to wait.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason they're getting it out early is because they looked at the runtime for Stranger Things episodes and like, oh man, people need the weekend. We better get this out early so they have time for Stranger Things.
I know. Have you seen? I know the final episodes aren't until June or July, but have you seen those final episodes? They're like 2 hours. They're like 2+ hours.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
it's I'm gonna have to rearrange my furniture because I know we're binging it this weekend, and I want to be comfortable the whole time. So I have a recliner in front of the TV. We're moving the couch over so we can get comfortable.
Have they officially released the episode links for Kenobi? Or is it just, I'm seeing a lot of guesses that it's around the 40-45 mark, but
I don't think they have.
It? Okay.
I don't think so.
Well, let's just hope that I think I would be happy with 40-45. I really don't want those. There were some of those Mandalorian episodes that were barely 25 minutes, and they felt shorter than that, and I'm just like, that wasn't long enough. So, yes, Jeffrey Miller, it is dropping early. They just announced it. It'll be coming out in 24 minutes. Wherever you are, 24 minutes from now. So, yes. Well, thank you, Alan. I appreciate this. I know
no problem.
Was kind of impromptu. I was getting excited, and I'm like, I can sit here and just talk to myself, or I can call up Alan and see if he wants to chat.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I was getting pumped for it earlier today watching episode 3 at work.
nice.
I've got a screen with a projector in my office, so I had it up on the screen while I was doing stuff. It was amazing. So
Sweet. All right. Well, yes, it is unexpected, Jeffrey, but I am here for it. I'm so excited.
Mhm.
So, Alan, your podcast is you've got to watch this
you have to watch.
You have to watch this podcast.
Yes.
So where can people find you online?
You can find us on our Twitch channel. You can find us here on YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcast. Each week we make each other watch a movie one of us has never seen. This past week it was what did we just watch?
Top Gun, wasn't it?
We just did Top Gun 2 weeks ago. This week it was Treasured Planet. Next week I'm having my one co-host Devin watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie for the first time.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
that's classic. That is a classic. Well, and yeah, I have so many memories around that film. If you haven't seen their podcast, it's fantastic. It's good for nostalgia purposes, but it's also just fun to, if you like any of those watch for the first time videos on YouTube, they do it, but they have a nice group setting, so it's good stuff. I really like your podcast, so go check them out.
And we'll probably be talking about the first 2 episodes of Kenobi a little bit at the top. So
sure. Come back next week for Nerf Herders Assemble. Seth will be back. I think we're going to talk about Halo now that that's finished.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
If you need a third.
Yeah, we might bring you on for that. There's a lot to talk about, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about this and whatever else. Yeah, there'll be plenty to talk about next week. So come on back. But thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And yeah, may the Force be with you, Alan.
May the Force be with you, Josh.